Good morning, everyone. It is 9 a.m. in northern Texas and in middle America. My pencil just broke. All right, get your pencils out. The thing about these pencils is when they break like that, they're like broken all the way through. So careful when you're sharpening your pencils and careful when you're dropping your pencils. This is a Prismacolor color erase. So these are color pencils that you can erase, which is awesome. So as usual, I like to start my sketches very loose. And just for simplicity's sake, and well, we draw what we love, right? So I've been drawing a lot of figures lately, or really been drawing a lot of figures in my entire life. Don't mind the dog barking, he's just chasing the monsters away. Okay, so if you're drawing a figure, you're going to draw a head, torso, pelvis, arms, legs, right? It's always going to be the same. Figures in action are, well, that's different. But you just want to be able to get the basic structures down. So I want this character, kind of like the last few, to be like in a transcendent state. I talk a lot about the state of the world as well, and how, look, we need to lift ourselves up, we need to lift other people up. One of the best ways we can do that is art, but sometimes and often we need to acknowledge our lower states as well. Like, it's hard to be positive when you are in a negative state. And if someone says, just fucking cheer up, that is not cool. It's not cool. So you just want to be able to, again, acknowledge your feelings. Acknowledge how you're feeling. If you're feeling down and like shit, feel that out. There's a great book called Letting Go. I'm just going to start adding these books. A lot of people ask me what I read. So there's a book called Letting Go. And it's really about letting go. So how do you let go? Let's talk about that for a second. How do you let go of something? When someone says, just let it go, man. You just can't just tell your mind, just, hey, let it go. It's not that easy. The way out is through. You might have heard the term, the obstacle is the way, from Marcus Aurelius. That is the way through, meaning you have to feel your feelings. Big surprise, right? For some people that is, and a lot of us don't want to feel our feelings. We want to push them aside or push them away or bury them. Bad idea. Well, because it's going to come out in other ways in your life. It's like whack-a-mole. You hit something, you push it down, and it'll pop up somewhere else. And it's going to pop up in places you might not want it to, such as in your reactions to other people. And we want to get to a place of response. We want to, let's say you have an emotion right now of like, it's a negative emotion that you don't want to feel. You first just acknowledge the emotion and almost, become a witness to the emotion. First of all, you can tell yourself, I am not this emotion. We are not our feelings. And I think that is a huge step in taking the right direction, is acknowledging we are not our thoughts and feelings. We have thoughts, we have feelings, but when you don't identify with them, that's a huge step. So that's the first step. Don't identify with it. Second step is actually let it run its course. And if you don't have time in the moment to let your feelings run their course, you make time for it. Treat your feelings as they are guests living inside of your mind, inside of your heart, and they are oftentimes unwanted guests. But what's really going on is something's trying to tell you something, and it'll come through. It's your unconscious telling you to like, hey, pay attention to this. And that's what dreams are doing to you as well. Your dreams are telling you something, in very strange ways, but they are communicating something to you that you need to deal with. Like if all you did was pay attention to your dreams and journal them and really do some interesting analysis. You can do it through GPT. You can run your dream through GPT and say, act as Carl Jung or Sigmund Freud or a world-class therapist and analyze this dream. This is what I'm going through, right? AI is a great tool for that. It'll help your art. See, for me, it all comes back to art and creativity. And, you know, back in the day, I was known as like a dark artist. I was drawing a lot of demons and monsters, and I still love that shit, like a lot. I love it even more now. But back then, I was really kind of unconscious of a lot of things, and I just thought they were cool. Like, I love monsters and demons and shit, and people think I'm weird for it, and God bless them. I am weird. Anyways, there came a point where I was drawing a lot of figures of light, right? You can call this a figure of meditation, right? A lot of people see my latest work, or they'll see my Simpsons work, which is old work, and be like, wait a minute, you did that, and now you're doing this, and you're doing all these things. Are you like schizophrenic or something? And in many ways, I think, I'm not saying I'm schizophrenic, as the peacock is singing in the background. Peacocks are schizophrenic. They're fucking weird. But as artists, we're explorers. And we like to explore different things. One of the traps of being an artist, and I see it in many artists, is that they find a style and they become known for the style, and then they become trapped by the style. And for me, I never wanted to be in that trap. So my style changed, and your style can change too. You don't need to stick with the style the rest of your life. It becomes a prison. So let's say you find a style and you're really proud of it. There you go, run with it. And then you'll be known for that style. And then let's say you want to change the style, and then you fear, oh, what are my fans going to think? That's the trap. You have to essentially explore what you want to explore, and some fans will drop away. Just like that happened to me when I was transitioning from, a quote unquote dark artist into something a bit more authentic, which involved a lot of self-improvement and meditation and manifestation. And I was getting like shitty comments from people saying, this is a bunch of bullshit and you're just faking it now and blah, 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 and you're trying to be someone else. And that shit hurt. It got to this point where I created a second Instagram account because I was in a whole new friend group and I was doing all of this inner work, and I wanted to share my authentic, vulnerable feelings, and I was like getting shit on for it. So I created another account. And this is what I recommend to you guys, is to create, let's say you're afraid to post what is on your heart. You're afraid to post not just your art, but what you truly think. Create a new account and create a new avatar with a whole new name and become that person. It's not fake. This is great shadow work. And then eventually you can be like, hey, motherfuckers, it's me. So I created a new account. I didn't create the alias or avatar, but I really started posting my heart on this new account. I started posting what I was up to, my newer art, my thoughts, my feelings on spirituality and meditation. And, I was preaching to the choir because it was all my newer friends, and they were like, fuck yeah, man, I love that shit. I love that new age woo-woo hippie shit, which, there is an immense amount of science in spirituality these days. And, you know, people are going to knock it. Your friends and family might knock your self-development, right? So you create an alter ego that says what you truly want, that does what you truly want. And that is going to be one of the greatest like healing modalities like you can ever do. And if you never even post any of that, great. So I have a character called Clara, and she is an Asian American shape-shifting immortal assassin who works for a secret dark government association. She is a supermodel by day, and then she's a monster hunter by night. So I created her in 2017, and she's been a great source of shadow work for me because she's very different than me. She's very cynical, and she's very apathetic, and she's very indifferent, and she doesn't give a fuck about anyone except her animals. And she's also a badass, and she's also sexy as fuck. And you know, she's not, well, I guess you could say she's mean, but she's a recluse. She's isolated. She's tortured. She is a very disturbed being. And the only thing she gets off on is killing monsters. And she kills them by consuming their energy, and she becomes them, and then she kills them. It's very much set in the 80s synth wave, retro wave universe, perpetual 1980s. It's got all my favorite music from that era, right? And I get to, you know, she smokes and drinks. She doesn't really do drugs. She's like, but she smokes, so I don't have to, right? Make your characters do things so that you don't have to, so that you could stay healthy, so you could stay clean, and you could stay focused, and have all your other characters that you make just fucked up characters, because we all have these energies inside of us. And how do we process what's going on in the world today? All the wars and all the horrors and all the fucking PDFs, if you guys know what I'm talking about. You can't even say that word anymore. But this world is run by these horrific people, and it's all coming out, and it's traumatizing society intentionally. It's not conspiracy. They've released all of this stuff into the world, and they're like, here, you fucking happy? Here you go. Here's all the dirt on Epstein and all of these leaders, and we're just going to throw in some wars while we're at it. It's a very kind of horrific state of affairs because it's all being broadcast. So what can you do, right? What can you do about what's going on in the world? You can make art and make your authentic art, and you will heal through that process. And through that healing, you heal the world. People always say, I want to change the world. I want to heal the world. And I'm always thinking, which world, motherfucker? There's 8 billion worlds out there. Every human being, every individual is living in their own world. So just like Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see in the world. You change. You heal yourself. And when you heal yourself, you are one less person who is caught up in the drama of the world. And in effect, you change the world. So you start with yourself. And then you share. You share your healing journey. This is where I'm coming back to this idea of maybe you're embarrassed to share your healing world or your healing journey. So this is where you can create art and have your healing journey go through the art. It's almost like a shield. It is a shield. That's what my character Clara is for me. And she's not anonymous. You know, people know I'm creating her, and you know she's her own entity, and that's what's cool. You know, you can create these alter entities and just dump all of your shit onto them. Like you made them up, right? Yeah, you can play the game of like, yeah, they're real. They're real to me. Yeah, they're real, but they're also not real. This is where it gets fun playing with AI. And look, I don't use AI for my art because I like to create art. And second of all, there's no such thing as AI art because humans make art, and art is associated with feelings. And not to get into the AI argument now, but I see a lot more artists drawing on paper these days because of AI. It's a beautiful thing to watch people engage in traditional media and have a renewed sense of like purpose through their artistry. It's really beautiful. You know, there are robots that can draw and paint. Like, they exist. Just look them up. But still, it's a gimmick. It's kind of fun, actually. At the end of the day, most humans are going to want artwork created by human beings. They really are, and AI is teaching us that. Let's let AI do our taxes and clean our homes and do all this shit that we don't want to do so that we can create art. Right? This world is coming. It's very close where the robots are going to be able to do everything. And, you know, it can go either in very positive ways or very horrific ways. But, hey, why don't we just focus on the positive? It's easy to focus on the negative. Like, oh, the AIs will take over, and then we're in a matrix situation where we have to blow up the skies in order for them to not have energy. And I mean, that's a cool idea, but look at the heart of the message in the Matrix. It's very Christ-like. It's very Buddhist-like. At the end of the day, you know, we want good, and there's way more good people in the world. But the problem is, it just takes a few bad eggs to just, you know, cause a lot of trouble. Not naming names, because, look, at the end of the day, we can always point the finger back to ourselves and think, what can I work on? Like, am I being too judgmental? You know, even of people that are just really causing a lot of fucking havoc, which seems to be a lot of world leaders today. But if you use your energy to fight against things, look, it's important to fight for things. But I see a lot of wasted energy going towards protesting. And look, protesting is great, the right kind of protesting. But using your energy to be angry and yell, well, again, anger has its place. Actually, anger is a better emotion than shame or grief and all of those lower, because anger can help motivate you towards courage, right? That information is all in this book, Letting Go, where we have this thing called the map of consciousness, or the spectrum, right? We have all the lower emotions, right? You know, the shame, the blame, the apathy. And then you have the higher ones, love and peace and all the good ones. And you have anger right there in the middle. Anger comes right before courage, right? Anger is an energetic emotion. It can get you to the courage that you need to actually, you know, face yourself. At the end of the day, it's about facing ourselves and stopping blaming other people. Like, I used to live in blame for years because I thought, I'm good, I'm fucking perfect, everyone else is fucked up. They just need to work on themselves. If everyone else just worked on themselves, we'll be good. And, you know, it goes back to that classic saying that Jesus said. He's like, you know, you call people out for their bullshit. I'm paraphrasing Jesus' words. He's like, you call people out for their bullshit without even considering your own bullshit. That's what he was saying when he said, you know, you call out your brother's, the speck in your brother's eye, and you don't even notice the plank in your own eye. Meaning, you call out people for little things, but you don't notice how egregiously you're being a fucking hypocrite. And I say you, I mean we. So it all comes back to, if I'm pointing the fingers at all these people, then I should equally point the finger at myself, because everything that bothers us in other people is something that we need to look at within. right? And again, this is something that we can journal about and write about. It is a very brave thing to do, to look at your own shit and to grow from it. And a lot of people are not going to do this work. And a lot of people are. So you decide what you want to be. So, okay, we have a character here, and she's in a blissed out state, and she's got this kind of Kundalini energy. It's very new agey. It's all this shit I love. And at the same time, I can laugh at it because it can sound pretty ridiculous sometimes. In the sense of, oh, love and light and Kundalini and awakening. And yeah, I'm calling out the motherfuckers that don't deal with their dark side. I'm calling out the fuckers that say, no, I don't want to talk about the darkness. It's like, no, you talk about it. You talk about even more than the light. You alchemize the darkness. And, well, okay, what does that mean? Well, it means all of the shit you don't want to look at. All of the trauma and the terror and the fear that you have. Things that lay in the shadows of our psyche and our hearts that we don't want to deal with, right? So we push them away, we push them under, and then again, they will come out, right? Carl Jung said, unless you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you'll call it fate, right? And you'll be like, oh, this is just my life and this is how things are going, because you're not willing to look at your own traumas. And then you might think, they did this to me, they did this, right? Then you're in a world of blame. And yeah, they might have done all this shit to you, but is your own responsibility of what you do with that. And that's a tough thing for a lot of people to hear. It's on you to deal with your own shit. Who else is gonna fucking deal with it? Like, who else is gonna process your darkness and your pain and your trauma? Like, no one else can. You see what I'm saying? Like, you're the only one that can. And so if someone else caused you trauma, we all have our own trauma. I've had childhood trauma that I've been processing for years now. But for years before that, I was just always in blame. I'm like, I don't need to do that because it was done to me. And how dare they do that to me? And, you know, it's even worse when it's like family. Fucking way worse. Because then you don't want to deal with it. You don't want to look at it. But when you can look at trauma through the eyes of compassion, of like, man, that phrase, hurt people, that's fucking real. I'm gonna write that down. I want you guys to remember that. If you've ever been hurt by anyone, they were hurt. And it's, again, no excuse, but that's just the reality of it. Shouldn't excuse someone from doing harm. But hurt people. So if you've gotten hurt in the past, it's because that person was hurt and they just didn't know how to process it. So they just let it out on you. And that's unfortunate. And now you get to be the bigger person and process that hurt. Again, it all comes back to art and creativity. Creativity is one of the greatest healing forces in the world, right? Because you can show self-love and you can show love to others through your art, right? It doesn't have to be like this. It's writing, poetry, song, dance. Like, if you create something for someone, that's the greatest gift you can give to someone. So a lot of artists that I know, well, we give our art to people as gifts, birthday gifts, Christmas, whatever. It's kind of ridiculous for us to go out and buy something unless we're pressed for time. And well, time is the whole issue, right? Sometimes we don't have the time to create. And so a lot of artists have, including myself, have hoarded their artwork. And so, okay, talk about letting go. Letting go has always been difficult for me in my original artwork. In that this is an original piece. Digital work, well, it's digital. You can just send someone a JPEG, send someone a text message with your digital work. or a picture of your traditional. But when you give something to someone that you made by hand, right, that's on paper or canvas, or that's clay, or that's a recording of a song or a poem, right, that's fucking priceless. They will cherish that thing the rest of their lives. They'll always remember that you did it. You did it, whether or not you did it directly for them, but that's even more of a bonus. You could also use it as a subtly loving manipulation tactic to, like, let's say you have a boss for the holidays or their birthday, you make them something. Man, what are the chances they're going to give you a raise? Right? We can do it for that, but we don't do it for that. But we can do it for that. That's not the main reason. There's nothing wrong with a little loving bribery. It's a win-win situation, you know? You make something, you give it to someone, they're kind of indebted to you. Again, I'm not promoting manipulation. There's a fine line between malicious manipulation and loving manipulation. It's like when you're trying to coax your kids to do something. You're like, I'll give you the treat after you do the thing. Go mow the lawn and then you get your reward. We got to be able to also look at life in terms of, service versus reward, right? And sometimes if you can get to the place of true heart of service, that's a difficult place to get to. I know it hasn't for me, because we always want something back, right? But then you look at people out there that are truly serving and helping other people, and that's one of the best feelings you can get in life, is by helping people. And if you're feeling bad in life, one of the best things you can do is go help someone else. And that's tough to get there from a place of, why me? Why is this happening to me? Kind of thing. And sometimes you just need to kick yourself in the ass, or have a good friend who is your ass kicker, kind of just nudge you or push you or kick you out of the nest, as it were, in order to get you out of the state of mind that you're in. So what I've been doing on these drawings is adding the white, which is really nice because it doesn't take a lot of white. And I'm kind of making these things like wispy elements. They can turn into snakes or something like that. But it's the idea that, energy, when you focus your energy, especially from the lower states, right? And again, this all applies to moving that negative energy up from the lower states, right? Physically in the body, and then upwards. If you look up Kundalini Yoga, you can do this through breath work. Literally by holding your breath, right? Is a great way to move energy. And just to remind yourself that, hey, you're alive. If you're watching this thing right now, well, you're alive, and that counts for something. And there's a lot of people that don't want to be alive. And I know what that feeling is like. That's a horrible feeling, because then you'll feel guilty for having the feeling. So now you have double negative feelings. And then you're like, fuck all this. I just want to leave. I get it. Suicide is a big thing. We can talk about it. I think it's something that most people even think about. Whether or not they ideate it is a different thing. Those are two different places. I think it's a good exercise to think about. Not about how you would do it, but just the idea of suicide. And so if you're having those thoughts, and I can totally relate, you just need to have them and let them run their course. Again, this is the whole idea of letting go, which is the book by David Hawkins. Highly recommended. And just, again, to be able to process these things, if you bury any emotions, they're going to find their way out. So a lot of times people kill themselves because they feel they don't have purpose. They're useless. And men's suicide rate is a lot higher than females. Females will usually tend to have more of a sense of purpose than men. I'm not saying like that is 100% the case, but again, you just look at the suicide rates. And when men lose a sense of purpose and a sense of manhood and feel useless, the crazy thing about male suicides is that a lot of the men who do kill themselves never showed any history of depression or anything like that. They just kind of came to this point where they're like, I think I'm done. And I don't feel useless. And these men have families and children, and yet they don't feel they have a purpose. This is where, again, I see art can come in and really help people to have a sense of purpose. To create something with your hands, and then even if it's just for you, but you can, again, gift your art. You can share your art. This gets into the whole, like, what if people don't like it? I get that too. I spent years in that scenario when I was transitioning from The Simpsons into conceptual art. And I was trying new art styles, and they just looked like shit, at least to me. And I wasn't gonna post my Simpsons stuff because I didn't want to be known as a cartoonist anymore. So I just hid in the shadows for years, just creating my own work and taking figure drawing classes and learning to do what you're seeing here. And just, again, it did not look good. And after like 3 years, of learning new techniques and getting better at anatomy and digital painting, I started posting. And I was surprised at the response I got. I got way more positive things. I got a few negative things. The negatives, you can get 50 comments that are positive, and all it takes is one negative comment for you to just be so fucking angry and like, you're like, what about the 50 other good ones? But you don't even care about those anymore. You want everyone to like it. And man, I just remember getting into arguments with people online about, what I was trying to do with this new art. And I don't know, man, trolls are just gonna fucking troll. People that leave negative comments online are hurt people, and they hurt other people so that they could relieve their pain. So always remember that. Okay, so there's this concept called eye of the heart, which is really beautiful. And it comes from the Gospel of Mary, which is one of the ancient texts that was kind of thrown away when they were putting the Bible together. There was a few others too, but they didn't want women having power back then. Seriously, like, this is all documented. I'm a straight male, but I just think it was just so cruel for women to be, demonized and outcast, when they were the ones that truly helped to carry the message that Jesus was saying. Anyways, Jesus talks about the eye of the heart, and as a way to see through, right? It's a different kind of vision, right? If we could see through our hearts, well, what does that mean? Well, I think you guys can sense what it possibly means, which is seeing less through your brain, as it were. Jesus was talking about, this is the nous, N-O-U-S in Greek, which means mind, but that's not what he was referring to. He was referring to the eye of the heart. And so, this means loving ourselves and loving people through this first, right? And making the what we call the mind, the brain, the ego, the servant of the heart, which is absolutely possible, but it's hard to see it in a society that seems very ego-driven and very sick. And it's sick because it's seen through the eye of the mind first, and the heart is, well, the heart is the thing that just keeps us alive, and it's a pump and has no other value than that, right? It's all about this mind. And so a lot of this has to do with feeling, right? Feeling into your body. And a lot of times we don't want to feel into our bodies because that's where a lot of the trauma is, right? So we block it out. We block the feelings. We suppress them. And we only look at things analytically. And even more specifically through left brain analyzing. See, the right brain, that's the creativity, that's the art, right? This whole game of life is bridging those two things, bridging, the left, as it were, to the right in the brain, and then the heart and the mind, right? Which interestingly enough, you get this cross, right? The cross of Christ. And I'm not a Christian, but I do follow the teachings of Christ in the Gnostic sense, which is a whole other conversation. But this whole idea of the cross, of the top meeting, converging with the bottom, and then the left with the right, in this convergence, right, to the center, and becoming what Carl Jung called individuated, which is a whole being. It's a united being. So all of these great teachers from across time are saying the same things. Do what you can to become a whole being. Well, that means looking at the dark and not suppressing it, because the dark is just as important as the light. And it's really not about dark per se, it's about what's in the dark. It's something I like to call treasures in the shadows. Imagine an attic or a basement. They can either be creepy places or they can be really nice and tidy places. Some people's basements are dope as fuck. They're just like awesome man-woman caves, But other people's basements are creepy and just you don't want to go down there, and they're dark, and it's where you put shit that you don't want to deal with. And yet at the same time, there can be amazing things in the basement, in the shadows, treasures in the shadows. Imagine the old toys that you have in your basement, or the old photo albums, right? The things that you love. You forgot about them, and they live in the shadows. That is the darkness that Jung was talking about. And to willingly go into the darkness, there's going to be bad things in there as well. There will be, quote unquote, monsters in the shadows, but there are also treasures in the shadows. And you have to be willing to excavate. So, anyways, guys, if you want to join my free online community in school, my link in my bio, I'm doing a live call at 11:30, a couple hours from now, Central Time. And I'm going to be critiquing some of the members' work live in there. And that'll be digital. That'll be done on my screen in Photoshop. So thanks for hanging today, guys. This was super fun, and I look forward to seeing you guys soon. Create something beautiful today. Maybe feel some feelings you've been ignoring today, just a little bit. Remember, a feeling has a shelf life of 90 seconds. That's it. And then it'll transmit and go away, and then sure, it might come back later. But the whole point is to process the feelings, and then you make a piece of art out of that process. And then bonus if you record your process, because AI, there is no process. All right. Love you guys. We'll see you guys soon. Bye.